deans, respected faculty members, esteemed alumni and students of FMS. A very warm welcome to each one of you. It is a privilege for me to welcome you all to the Founders' Day celebrations of the FMS Forum. Today is not merely a commemorative gathering, it is a celebration of legacy, leadership, excellence, and the enduring spirit of FMS. Founders' Day reminds us of the vision upon which this institution was built, a vision of intellectual rigor, integrity, and impact. As we gather here this evening, we celebrate all the individuals who continue to shape its future. On behalf of the FMS Forum, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our distinguished guests and alumni who have joined us today. To formally commence today's proceedings, I would like to introduce the President of the FMS Forum, Mr. Naveen Kapoor, an FMS alumnus of the batch of 1986. Mr. Kapoor took over as the President of the FMS Forum in July 2024. He is an economics graduate from St. Stephen's College, a law graduate from the Faculty of Law at Delhi University, an MBA graduate from FMS, and attended Indian Institute of Foreign Trade courses. While a student at FMS, he took a class in microeconomics, had a passion for travel, and wove his entire career around it in international marketing. Having traveled to more than 137 countries, including those where angels fear to tread. He has been the president of the international division of Apollo Tyres Group and is currently an executive director of the group company. Mr. Naveen has been the Sherpa to the Indian chapter of BRICS Business Council since its inception in 2013. With this, I would like to invite you, sir, to the dais to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. Professor Venkatraman, Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, and patron of FMS Forum, respected teachers, past and present. Professor Mitra, a special thanks for attending this function today. Though you had a prior engagement, thank you very much for joining us. Distinguished speakers today who are alumni of FMS, Mr. Rakshit Hargave, Mr. Neeraj Garg, Mr. Vikram Podar, and Dr. Nandini Sharma. Welcome to the alumni and to the students. A warm welcome to the Founders' Day of FMS. This is a day when we remember our founder, Professor A. Das Gupta, and the entire generation of teachers, students, and alumni who have built this brand, which is FMS. It is one of the foremost business institutions in India. And let me tell you, last week I had attended an alumni dinner where Professor Venkatraman gave us a very interesting statistic that last year 35,817 students, candidates sat for the examination and only 287 made it, which is less than 1%. To the students, I want you to know, don't underestimate yourselves. You have left 99 candidates behind to come into this room that you are today. So congratulations to you. I wish you all a bright future. Having told you this, there is no sense of complacency at this stage, because now that you know, in cricket you have the round robin, then you have the Super 8, then you have the, we call it the quarterfinals, semi-finals. Now you will be competing with the best. So you have to learn some more skills after you come out of the red building of dreams, when you get your degrees. That is why when we met the students, they requested us, why don't you do a topic this time for the Founders' Day, which is relevant to us. So this time the topic is, what begins when formal education ends? That is where it's very, very important that once you come out of college, you've got a base, you've got a good foundation, you have to build on that. It is very rightly said that hard skills will get you an interview. Soft skills will get you the job and it will keep you in the job. So that is why this time, at the request of students, before we used to have speakers from all over, this Founders' Day is very unique in its term, because it is by, of and for FMS. Every person in this room belongs to the FMS fraternity. And another very welcome change this time is we've included HCA, who have taken a lot of interest. And that is why we have Dr. Nandini Sharma, who will be speaking to us. So the basic idea of this time's Founders Day is that we have speakers who have been illustrious performers in the various sectors that they are working in, and they will come and share their stories with you. Now, just to give you a little bit flavor of my own story, when I passed out from FMS, I was not happy in the job that I was doing until there was some quirk of fate which put me into international marketing. And as a kid, I remember I used to see what you remember as a Viewmaster, where you saw countries, and I always used to dream about that. So when the opportunity came to me, I grasped it with both hands. And what I did then was, I have traveled like I was about 130, 40 odd countries. In the streets of the market, what I learned has stood me in fairly good stead. That at the young age of 68, I'm still on a full-time employment, where a lot of people retire. So some learnings, I will just share a few of them, because there are many learnings, but the important ones are, one is relationship. If I were to rate one most important thing when you come out of your business school, is how to build relationships. How I learned this was that many years ago I was traveling to Baghdad for the first time, to Iraq. And I met some people to find out as to what is the secret sauce to do business in this part of the world. He just told me a simple thing. He says, "Beta, ek cheez yaad rakhna, dil ki raah dhoondo, kaam ho jayega." I had 1 week before my departure, everything that had to be learned about that part of the world, Nebuchadnezzar, Hammurabi, Babylon, Najaf, Karbala, I choked everything in. Talked to the guys in the embassy, what is the culture? They said, when you meet a man, you have to shake hands and 3 kisses on alternate cheeks. So I learned that art. Can you believe it? My first trip, somehow, and they said, you have to break bread with them, eat with them, go through their culture, whatever. I learned all of that. In my first visit to Baghdad, I did more business than the cumulative business I'd done in 5 years before that. So I thought relationship was a very, very important thing to build in. Another small story. I've been very lucky when I've taken flights. One flight I'd taken was from Maputo to Johannesburg. There was a gentleman sitting next to me, one black gentleman, we got into conversation. He says, "Have you know of a country called Malawi?" I said, "No, never heard of it." He says, "Next time you travel to Zambia, why did you come to Malawi?" I go to that country, discover the president of that country is a product of, guess what? SRCC and B School of Economics. So I just sit down and I make a letter to him in the State House and just give it to him. Less than 24 hours later, he calls me. I get a call from State House. He wants to meet you, and I wear a suit and I go there. The first meeting lasted 2 hours 30 minutes, where we didn't talk of work, whatever. I said, "I just come to meet you as a co-alumnus of University of Delhi. I was in St. Stephen's, you were in SRCC and all, and commerce, SRCC is the North Pole or whatever." He told me about his stay in university. He told me about going to Chachaji Hatti, taking his girlfriend to Tibetan monastery, then having samosas, 12.5 rupee bus pass, whatever he was telling me, I kept on listening. That meeting, when we came out, there was a minister outside. He said, "What have you done?" Because 15 minutes he looks at the watch and tells us to get out. "How come you sit?" I said, "Sir, 2 hours, 25 minutes he spoke. 5 minutes I spoke." And you allow the person to stop, it goes on till eternity. One tip I was given also, which I would like to share with all of you is, whenever you go to meet a big person with whom you want an appointment and spend time with him, even if it is very, very hot, 45 degrees, if he offers you to something to drink, always ask for tea. Why? Because water has to boil, tea leaves have to go, it has to be brewed, you get that much more time with that person. Let me tell you a secret. When I was taken over as president, the first time I came to this campus was to meet Professor Venkatraman. And it was a very hot day. He asked me, "What do you want to have?" I said, "Tea." So that gave us more time to spend with each other. Now, talking about successes, there are also failures. Like I gave you the story about this president doing very well. Yet there was another president who came here from another country called Zambia, and he was doing some medical procedure. After that, with a lot of difficulty, I got into the room to meet him. So I had remembered the story of poverty that I had shared with the old president just about a few months ago. So I told him, Your Excellency, delighted to meet you. I read about you. You were a janitor, you were a porter, you were a police constable at Victoria in UK and all that. And now you are the president of the country. I thought he was going to welcome me. You know what? He looks at me and says, get out. So with tail between my legs, tears rolling my teeth, I came out. Because he says, I don't want to learn about my poverty. Tell me what work you have. So everybody is made differently. The third lesson I learned is networking. Actually, unfortunately, we look at networking as a cause and effect. It does not work like that. You see, there are two kinds of fishermen. There is one fisherman who what he does is, he has that rod, he has that tackle, and he puts the bait and throws it in the water and waits for the fish. Sometimes morning to evening he is just waiting, no fish comes and bites his bait. So how to tell his wife that, I did a hard day's work, he goes to the market, picks up a fish and brings home. That is if you are focusing on networking. The other fisherman is a guy who throws the net and goes home and sleeps. Next morning he picks up the net, it's got full catch. So what I would say is, whenever you're traveling, dress up well, talk to the person next to you. If I had not spoken to a person on that flight on Maputo, I wouldn't have gone to the country. So talk to people, expand your network, attend Founders Day like FMS, and you'll certainly succeed. That's all I have to say. Only one thing I would like to say is, all you students, after having come to this red building of dreams, you know the path. Now you have to walk the path. So for that, soft skills need to come, and I'm sure the speakers after me will give you much more of their experience and you'll gain out of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, for your thoughtful and inspiring words, as well as practical tips from your rich experiences across the globe. Your leadership and commitment continue to strengthen the FMS community and its alumni network. To continue this evening of reflection and inspiration, I now request Mr. Naveen Kapoor to kindly invite our respected Dean, Professor Dr. A. Venkatraman, to deliver the Dean's address.
Mr. Venkatraman, Raman, cordially invited to give your speech. Thank you.
Respected Professor Mitra, Professor Seth, Mr. Rakshit, Mr. Neeraj, our own dear Vikram, and Dr. Nandini, my dear colleagues, and I see a number of faces of the alumni, FMS Forum founders who are still patronizing this particular forum, and I'm glad to see you, welcome you here. Perhaps after a very long time we are having a kind of interaction with our FMS Forum in this particular auditorium. I was told that many people had not even stepped into the S P Jain Center. Welcome back and welcome to this particular building. It's irresistible to listen to Mr. Naveen. He had already given you all the tips that is needed for you to succeed after your MBA. I'm not going to dwell into that subject at all. But just to be very brief about my remarks, the founders saw something about how FMS can contribute, the Faculty of Management Studies can contribute. In those days, the word was not there, the particular terminology, this nomenclature of Faculty of Management Studies wasn't there. It was founded as a different kind of department for industrial and business administration. He envisioned that the faculty should remain to be inclusive and should cater to the needy students, and the faculty should come from all over the country and also from diverse set of people. So you had Professor Abad Ahmed, you had Professor Narek, you had Professor Neelamegam, you had Mr. Chatterjee, Professor Chatterjee, representing diverse set of people. We also had an Christian. He left us, left to US. So that's the kind of a thought that founded the value of this particular faculty. And I dare say that even after 72 years, we cherish these values and we live up to those values. Today our students represent the most diverse background, whether they are economic or social or any other kind of a background that they are allowed to pursue their MBA program, cherish their dreams that they had dreamt, with what I would call it as equitable opportunity for pursuing quality management education. And therefore I would like to assure all the alumni who are here that we are continuing to uphold the values that you saw when you were a student here. And 40 years from now, many of us will not be here. And I am sure the students who are looking at me right now will listen to the same words, I hope. Will listen to the same kind of a hope that FMS had carried in the past and will continue to hold. So life beyond formal education is, you will achieve your career success, there is no doubt about it. You are among the creamy layers in this particular country. Whichever part of the world that you are going to be, you will be successful, that's for sure. With your intelligence and your hard work, you will definitely succeed. But you also need to have this thought in your mind. Somebody had subsidized your education. Who did that? And what have we done to that particular community which has done that favor to us? Keep this in mind all along your journey. There is a society at large. You will succeed, you will have lots of earnings, you will have lots of things to gain. But the success of a person is not measured in the form of what you gain, but what you give. So when you give, don't say it. Do it quietly. And that's what it's all about as human beings. Beyond this, I just want to, some of the alumni who are here, as Mr. Naveen had already mentioned about, that we have had a huge competition in the last 2 years. Last year we had about 35,000 plus applicants, and this year we also have close to 35,000 applicants. And we have done a number of changes in the faculty, and more so, starting from the website, a newly designed website that perhaps was already there for the last 1 year or more. We also have a number of additions in the faculty in terms of faculty members. That also is old news. But we are moving towards smart classes and more smarter academic administration of the programs. So right now, just to inform them, we have installed about 5 interactive panels in the classrooms. And before the next semester, I promise to all the students, all the classes will have interactive panels. We would also have few other academically reinforcing activities. I will not be giving you the details right now for the sake of time. But most importantly, there is this particular announcement. I should be excused for repeating myself. The university has allowed us to have an independent campus of our own, and independent in the sense that we would have our own building. And that would be in this particular part of the city. And this particular building will be converted into a 3-floor building. We will also have a boys' hostel, and we would also have a girls' hostel and a guest house. So this entire place will perhaps be different. As I said that the university has taken a decision, and I'm sure my successors will definitely follow it up, and soon in the few years later we will have more vibrant community in this particular part of the city and in this particular building. And I foresee that FMS can handle with that kind of an infrastructure more than 500 students at any batch, at any given batch. So that's my thoughts. And all these changes and our values would not have happened without the support of my excellent colleagues. Their hard work, their commitment is next to none. In fact, I should say that my colleagues work more than private sector companies. Which academic institution in this particular university or in this country will take classes from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening? You name one faculty, I will then agree that I was wrong. And that's the commitment of our faculty members. And we take only 1 month of a break from 1st July till mid of May. We are constantly engaged. Somewhere or the other we are busy. Either class or admissions or examinations. This is much besides whatever is our administrative responsibility vis-a-vis the university. So therefore, none of these measures of a dean or a leader of an institution would be fructified if I don't have the support of my colleagues. And thank you once again to all my colleagues who are here. And thank you, students.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful address. Your words beautifully capture the ethos of FMS, a balance of academic excellence, character, and responsibility towards the development of our country. We are grateful for your constant guidance and stewardship of this institution. One of the most special moments of this evening is the recognition of extraordinary contribution. Founders' Day is an occasion not only to celebrate beginnings, but also to honor journeys. Journeys marked by dedication, scholarship, mentorship, and lifelong service to FMS. It is now time for the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Award. I invite the Vice President of the FMS Forum, Mr. Puneet Wadha, an FMS alumnus of the executive batch of 2022. Mr. Puneet is the country head for Hatch and holds an MS in computer science from the University of Alabama. A recipient of the Next 100 CIOs of India award, he brings over 20 years of global general management experience in oil and gas and the metals industry. I request you, sir, to please come forward and read the citation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing? Excited for the session? Coming forward? For the distinguished guests and the speakers in the room, may I have a loud round of applause in advance? It's a very special day for me today, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's not just because I come back here and stand in front of this stage after graduating from FMS. It's not just because I have the opportunity to meet so many distinguished speakers in the room and faculty members whom I once studied with. I'm thankful to FMS, and more especially because they gave me the opportunity to present the Lifetime Achievement Award. So today's Lifetime Achievement Award is being given to Professor O.P. Chopra, and let me read the citation for Dr. Chopra for the great work he's done. FMS proudly recognizes Dr. O.P. Chopra for his exceptional contributions to management, education, research, and leadership. With an illustrious career spanning over 4 decades, Dr. Chopra has played a pivotal role in shaping the academic and professional landscape of management studies in India and beyond. Professor O.P. Chopra is a distinguished academic whose profound contributions to economics and management education have inspired generations of students and scholars. And I'm sure they continue to inspire us even more. His career is marked with exceptional academic achievement, having graduated with a first rank in both his undergraduate and postgraduate studies. He went on to earn his doctorate from Delhi School of Economics, where he specialized in the field of federal finance, establishing a strong foundation for his lifelong engagement with economic thought and management education. A prolific author, Professor Chopra has enriched the academic community with several influential works. His publications included Allocation of Resources in a Federation by Inter-India Publishing Company, Managerial Economics, Tata McGraw-Hill, Tax Ethics, Inter-India Publishing Company, and Passion to Win, Excel Publishing Company, co-authored with Professor Abad Ahmed. These texts have not only advanced scholarly discourse, but have also served as essential resources for students and practitioners in the field. Professor Chopra's expertise has been recognized globally. He has had prestigious appointments as a visiting fellow at the Manchester Business School in the United Kingdom and at S Business School in Barcelona, Spain. These international engagements reflect the breadth of his influence and his commitment to fostering cross-cultural academic exchange. In recognition of his outstanding role in shaping and inspiring generations of students at the Faculty of Management Studies, Professor Chopra has been honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award for 2025-2026 by the FMS Forum. This accolade stands as a testament to his enduring legacy as a scholar, as a mentor and leader in the field of economics and management education. And to honor Professor O.P. Chopra, who will be speaking on video today, I have an extremely special guest who's going to accept the award on his behalf. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Jay Mitra, who served the University of Delhi for more than 4 decades. He was Professor, Head, and Dean of Faculty of Management Studies, New Delhi. Dr. Mitra, it's a privilege and it's a pleasure to have you on stage to accept the award from Professor Venkatraman.
And that means that we can give it 55 out of 100. I say A minus is 55. I would have given it at least 65. Then he would say, Joy, you are always very liberal. I said, yes, I am liberal in more than one sense. And I spoke to him yesterday even. He would have loved to be there with you to receive the award, Lifetime Achievement Award. The key that you see, that is a kind of a thing, is the same key which students fondly gave to Professor Dasgupta on his 70th birthday. So this is a replica of the key which was given to Professor A. Dasgupta, honoring, endearing him in his birthday. I really thank FMS Forum particularly I remember some of them gave so much to nourish this faculty. I'll just finish it with one example. There was a paper called Rural Marketing, and that was to be taught. And I happened to have been the dean at that time, and I couldn't find who can teach rural marketing, rural retail marketing. I come across alumnus whose name is who is present over here. Please stand up. Because I want to mention how FMS Forum has given their contribution. He was one of the founder members of the He happened to be in Mumbai, working with maybe Reliance or Pepsi or Hindustan Lever, I forgot. And I gave him a call and said that we have a need to teach this paper. Can you help? And you wouldn't believe, for next 2 or 3 years, he used to come down from Mumbai to take the class over here and fly back. All gratis, without charging anything ever in the faculty, for years together. So many of the students have been there, and to a large extent, we do owe a lot of gratitude in their effort of giving it back to the community. Thank you very much.
Professor Mitra, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. May I now request the video from Dr. O.P. Chopra to be played.
Since Professor Om Prakash Chopra is not present with us today, we will now present a short video capturing the remarkable journey and contributions of him.
Distinguished colleagues and friends, I am extremely grateful to a forum committee which has awarded me this Lifetime Achievement Award. Let me mention, a whole lot of people have been responsible for making what I have achieved. To start with, I have our colleagues who have provided such a congenial environment, followed by you, the bright students, and the most critical of all, my family, that is my wife and my children. They expressed their views in very candid terms without being very formal. That helped me a lot. Let me start by saying that we live in a world which is full of uncertainties. We have the Ukraine war going on. We have the new IT technology, artificial intelligence, that makes the things more challenging. But the best of us comes out under most difficult situations. It was seen that during the early 50s or late 50s, US decided not to supply food grain to us. Similarly, they refused to give us the super fast computers. Both these difficulties led us to introduce green revolution in our agriculture and parallel processing system in developing our own computers, which were as efficient as the supercomputer. Now, where do we go? The IT technology is the one which is going to create a whole lot of joblessness. This requires that we try to upskill ourselves, adding a number of other things to the existing ones. For instance, if we are software developers, we should also be knowing more of other languages which are there. Similarly, the utility of sports in developing leadership qualities and also the ability to be a follower acting as per the dictates of the situation. Now, what do we do under these circumstances? As I said, we need to add to our skills. Indians as CEOs are doing extremely well, particularly in IT sector. For instance, we have Google's head, who's an ex-IIT, IIM student. Similarly, others at Infosys and other places, they are the products of Indian universities, Indian institutes of technologies, and so on. How is it that we are doing so well? Is there something intrinsic with the Indians which enables us to be very good leaders? Possibly, yes. Also, we have the system whereby we were taught tables, mathematical tables, and some degree of mental maths. This enables us to consider the things in abstraction also. From here, we can move over to other situations and apply our abilities to be good managers. In the teaching profession, we have the advantage of being in the company of young, bright students like you. It enables us to feel young. More than that, searching questions asked by you really help us in keeping our information up to date. Also, the teaching methodology here is quite different. For instance, the course on strategy, which I offered along with Professor Abad Ahmed, enabled us to use case method and also business simulation. As we know, case method has the problem of not being able to make corrections if one has taken a decision in the past which is not correct. Business simulations help us in overcoming those type of difficulties. Nonetheless, it involves a lot of handling of the numbers, and not very many of us are very good at it. What do? There are certain broad indicators. We can use ratio analysis, we can use comparative analysis, we use the logic of analogy. Now, these are slightly technical terms, and to general public, more than the university setup, provides us the ability to modify our recommendations to suit and to be in a position to reach all and everyone. To conclude, what we are trying to do is, we entered the US, the IT graduates, more as coding jobs, but they have grown up to acquire the positions of being the CEOs. This is the standard way of entry any new country. Chinese are doing it. Before that, Japanese did so in the US. Initially, they went for some very low-level job, but upgraded themselves to be in a position to manage then the multinational. I'm sure we are on the same track. We didn't go at a very high pitch to start with, but having gone there, we have achieved whatever is the status at present. It's not a coincidence that IITs as a brand is being treated globally. If an advantage of being good in the US is that other countries think that you are good enough for US, you are good enough for Europe also. This has helped India a lot. I conclude now by saying, may God bless the FMS and the FMS alumni. Thank you. The Dean, Faculty of Management Studies, distinguished colleagues and friends, I'm extremely grateful to the forum committee which...
And on behalf of the entire community, we thank him for his enduring impact and inspiration. We now move to a segment many of us have been eagerly looking forward to. And it is my privilege to invite to the dais our distinguished alumnus and keynote speaker for this evening, Mr. Rakshit Hargave, an FMS alumnus of the batch of 1995. Mr. Rakshit is the Managing Director and CEO of Britannia Industries Limited. An electrical engineering graduate from IIT BHU Varanasi, he is a veteran of the FMCG sector with over 3 decades of rich experience and has previously held top leadership roles at companies such as Birla Opus, Nivea India, and more. Sir, we are privileged to have you with us today. I now kindly request you to share a few words with the audience.
So good evening. Good evening, Dr. Venkataraman, Naveen, faculty members, alumni members, students. So I think, I passed out about 30 years back. The WhatsApp group that we have is also called 30 Saal Baad. And I think our team, about 30 of us met in Phuket in July 25, and I think there was obviously a lot of memories, reminiscing, and how life has passed. So when I was invited that please come and share the keynote address, I thought that let me try and focus in terms of something that I might want to share with the people who are in FMS or will be passing out, so that maybe you take out something. And hence I put down my thoughts and I'll be happy to share. What I'll do is I'll also pick up some anecdotes from my professional career and try and relate to what could be happening to you, because I believe the topic is what happens once when formal education ends. So when formal education ends, informal education begins, and as you would know that informal education beats formal education every day. So the real education, as you say, when it starts after you pass out, is based a lot on experience. So you see, experience shapes you as a person, and experience shapes your behavior. And I have also personally seen that while working, you do get colored by experiences, you try and make judgments out of that, and then you try and compose yourself as a person who has certain ideas and beliefs. What is also very clear, and I think it's very relevant for the students today, is that while there is some correlation between academic excellence in college and how you do professionally in the future, but actually, having seen my batch and having seen people, a few years here and there above us, the correlation is not very strong. It actually depends on the individual and how you shape your gender, how you shape your informal education, and like you said, relationships is an absolutely vital part. Because you must remember that at the end of the day, the people who are making decisions, taking decisions are all human beings. And unless the interactivity and the positivity of doing that with the people is there, you're not going to achieve anything. The experiences that I also saw with my own batch people, some people were assumed to be doing A in life, and they are doing something which is absolutely opposite. You find people from my batch, actual experiences, people who have become professors, and I think that's a very noble task to do, people who have become farmers, and people who have become actors. And there is someone who's also become a sports writer. So career has no limitations. Like I said, it's absolutely upon yourself in terms of how you want to shape it. I often refer to this statement which was made by John Lennon when he said that, listen, life is actually what happens to you while you're making other plans. And the reality is that in the moment of things, you don't know many times what is right or wrong or what you need to do. But when you think about it in the future, you say, oh, at that time I should have done it. But if you put yourself in those shoes and go back in time, it's extremely difficult because no one knows how the future. And hence, what is important is that you have to follow some personal principles that you create for yourself. And I last couple of things, last couple of days, I was trying to think that what have been some of the principles which have guided me in terms of what I do, and I wrote them down. And what I will do is, in a few minutes, I will just read each one of them, and try and elucidate, and then I will try and link them with some anecdotes from a professional way. So the first is that in whatever I have done, and maybe I will refer it maybe in terms of what you should do, try and make a difference. Make things happen. Don't be a passenger. You will see when you start working that if you are a passenger and if you just move along, then you will fall behind. Obviously the intent is to make a difference, but you really have to take it with a program. How can you innovate? How can you do things? And it applies to every sphere. It does not apply only to marketing people, finance people, sales people, HR people. It applies to all facets of business that you would actually be dealing with. The second is take the initiative. If you're in a room and you feel that I need to bring this point upwards, or if I need to introduce something, it's a new stream of thought, you have to take the initiative, because the people who take initiative are the people who get noticed and are the people who really are able to make a difference. So taking initiative is something extremely important. Don't just wait for things to happen, because they will never happen by themselves. The third is seize the opportunity. And this also becomes very temporal. You might not realize while working that this is an opportunity or this is an opportunity B. You have to make something out of it. There will be situations where you might say, oh, can I do that? This is something that I want. And if you want something, you have to really work hard to seize that opportunity, because if you don't seize it at the right time, at the right moment, then that opportunity will go away. The fourth which I put, which is something very interesting, is that, and there's no learning in this, there's no, if you get a bad boss, try and get rid of the bad boss. Now you know that you can't choose your bosses, but you can try and get out of that system the faster. Because bad bosses are a reality. They create some kind of a hiatus in your career, and it has an effect even afterwards. And I know of many people who were very good, but because they were married with a bad boss, they suffered for a while and then they went behind. So, which also means that you need a bit of luck. So, let's not say that luck is not important. Some luck is extremely important. Learn to influence. See, you will realize that all things said and equal, when you start working, there are many intelligent people. There are many people who know, who can possibly solve the problem. They know the equation. But maybe they don't know how to influence. Because the power of being to influence stakeholders, maybe who are your peers, or maybe who are your seniors, or maybe even your juniors, actually makes things happen. So learn how to influence people, how to get your thought across, how to make sure that some of the actions that need to happen are happening as per what you thought. The next, which I like very much, is that there is no perfect plan. I never wait for a 100% plan, because a 100% plan is a chimera, it's a myth. If I believe that I'm 80% right or 85% right, I believe in agility and going and acting now. And this is, taking something from General Patton, who said that I don't want to wait for tomorrow. If I have a plan which I'm reasonably confident of, I will go with my tanks out now. And I think that has helped me a lot. And I really encourage people that, listen, don't wait for something perfect, because that means only procrastination, you're only delaying. And at the end you will say, oh, that was inevitable, I actually knew it. So then why did you wait for so long? The next, which I think I hold extremely personal to me, is how do you manage people, how do you deal with people, and the fact that you need to have empathy. If you have empathy, you will be able to put yourself in the other's shoes, and I think that is something that will really, really help. And the last point which I say is that actually all solutions are very simple. There is no complex solution. So you have to find simplicity in the complexity, because in reality you can only execute and focus on 2 or 3 things. If you think that you can do 10 things, you are actually incorrect. So if you're able to find those 2 or 3 simple things which have an impact which is multifold, you will actually be more successful. So now let me just quickly take you through some of my personal experiences, and they will somehow link to these values that I got. So I started my career with Nestle, And I also did marketing, I also did sales, I was a brand manager at Maggie Noodles. But I think the most dramatic assignment that I had was an example of seizing the opportunity. See, nobody wanted to go to sales at that time. There was a choice between sales and marketing. And there was this opportunity which came up. There I was told that, listen, now Nestle, which works on the milk and Maggie distribution system, wants to set up a separate distribution system for chocolate and confectionery only. Because you were competing with Cadbury's and we were getting hit. So we need someone to pilot this in Delhi Metro and take up the task. I thought this is something extremely interesting, and it was risky. Some of my marketing folks said, "Arey, you're going to be in the sun for 8 hours a day, you're going to be working with distributors, that's not very cool." And this was 1998. And I said, no, I want to do it. So I took up the challenge. I worked in Delhi Metro. It was extremely stressful because we only had Kit Kat at the time and we had Polo Mint. The rest was all push. But we separated. The whole system was set up. We set up a cool chain, we set up new distributors. And I think the company realized that what we had started and the risk that I had taken was good. And then, subsequently I moved into marketing also. But the fact is, the sales stint of seizing that opportunity of being the ASM for Delhi Metro really taught me a lot. I also moved over, when I joined Domino's Pizza, when it was a company which was very big in terms of image, but actually was an absolutely loss-making company. And this was when Domino's was trailing Pizza Hut. I joined Domino's in 2002. And while we were there, I actually realized that the company was in such a bad shape. But I was young, I was becoming a marketing head of the company within 7 years of passing out from college. So I thought, let me take this assignment. And then I realized that if we really have to do something, we have to make things happen. And while we were closing unprofitable stores, we were doing a lot of other things. We were improving the menu. I was in the US working with the US team, and they told me that, listen, we have this 30-minute guarantee, which works very well. But in the US, we stopped it about 12 years ago because the company realized that this country is extremely litigious. So you will actually end up paying so much in lawsuits that we give the guarantee, but we don't give it free. So when I came back, and we were discussing with the ops team, I told the promoters, and I told the managing director, that I think from a second player who's trailing Pizza Hut, and we have great products now, we have cleared up stores, we have opened, we have shut the loss-making stores. If we really want to grow up, let us do a 30-minute or free. And people looked at me and said, listen, are you crazy? I said, no, we can actually make it happen. And we worked along with operations, and I'll give you a few examples of how we made it happen, because that's an example of how can you really influence and make things happen. At that time, Brett Lee was the fastest bowler in the world. I was marketing head. He came, listen, if you want someone to endorse you, I'm the fastest bowler in the world, and you will be 30-minute of free guarantee. Perfect. And Domino's is huge in Australia, even then. It's by far the largest QSR company. And I thought, and I told him no, and I went back and I said, listen, if we have to make a difference, we really need to create the image of a brand and the excitement, which excites people so that they see something new. So I went and hired Paresh Rawal. And we told him, listen, 30-minute of free is something that you will do. And I think I wanted to play and create the magic of the excitement between the ordering of the pizza and the delivery of the pizza. And I think history will show you that it became extremely viral. Even when we started, the key was the delivery boys who were told that, listen, I'm reducing your drive time to 12 minutes. So for every store, we reduced 10,000 houses to be served. And people said, listen, you are taking a retroactive step because you serve this community, which is within 15 minutes of drive, and you're now making it 12 minutes because you want the delivery boy to ride slowly. And at the same time, you are telling him that you have to deliver it, and if you are late, you have to give it free. So we said, yes, what we will do for every delivery boy, we said, the first pizza that you give free in the store, please come back and celebrate it. Because what you're doing is you're promising the customer something and you're keeping it fresh. And I think it worked very well. We had 2% of the people who would switch off the lifts, who would not open the door, you keep ringing, but we learned very quickly. In 2 months we had sorted it out, and we had our rules, and those rules still stand. But what this did, And by the way, this is a Harvard business case study. If you go and read the Domino's case study, it's already there. We grew the business about 4x in a year. We started becoming profitable. And then, I moved out. Ajay, who came in as the CEO, and I moved out. And I think the rest is history. Today, you have more than 2,000 stores. And I think it's built on the fundamental consumer promise. And that's because we said that we really want to make a difference. Let me take you to my next assignment where I learned how you can also be a failure. So I was a marketing director in Hindustan. We were managing the joint venture with Kimberly Clark Limo. We had 60% share of the diaper market. But at the same time, we were milking it. It was a 60% market share with a 60% gross margin. It was an unreal business. And the diaper market was just going to spring up. Alan Lafley, who was the CEO of P&G, had just introduced the 10-cent diaper in China. And I went and told the management that, listen, India is a story. This 10-cent diaper is going to come to India very soon. And unless we stop creaming our business, we are going to get creamed. I said, no, don't worry, we are Huggies, we have 60% share. We have responsibility of delivering so much profit to the region. We cannot do that. I tried my best. But then Procter did come. They came with a 10 rupee diaper here. They came with diaper in singles. They were like what you call is a Gadi pack, flow pack. They were all there. And Kimberly Clark, we were started running behind. We immediately developed a diaper in 2 months, which was also launched at 7 rupees or 8 rupees. But the fact is, P&G had come and they had taken the board. I don't know the exact market shares, but Huggies is a distant third player today. The fact is, Unicharm, which had actually blown off P&G in Thailand with Mami Poco, actually entered later, and now Unicharm is the market leader. So you see, if you are not able to influence, and I take this as a bit of my failure, although the system was also responsible, you can see how business landscape can change. So it's important for all of you to be able to influence, which I did very well in my next role. So my longest stint was with Weisdorf, the German skincare company. I was the MD for Nivea in India, and I ended my career by heading Asia Pacific plus China out of Bangkok. So this was a German company which had been extremely memorable, the blue tin. But the fact was that the brand was far bigger than the business. So when I joined in, historically, German companies were forced to give away their licenses after the Second World War. And they were taken over by British companies. And Weisdorf was one of the companies where the license for Nivea was taken away in virtually all the markets. And it will go back and buy the markets. So the Indian license was with a company called J.L. Morrison, which had acquired it from Smith & Nevis. And then in 2007, they had bought back the license and they were building its own subsidiary. But the 2008 global slowdown really backed it. And at the same time, Weisdorf had bought the market leader in hair gels and hair colorants in China, which was also tanking. So when I came on board in 2010, they said, listen, you have to grow this business because India is a big promise. But we can only promise you so much because our experience with India and China in the recent past has been very bad. I said, okay, let's see. But we put up a plan together. In 6 years, I also learned how to influence a lot. So the parent company in Hamburg, they looked at India as if it's an opportunity, but I don't want to touch it very closely. I'm touching it with a bit of barge pole. So I had to reduce that distance. So we obviously fundamentally did a lot of product development, a lot of sales. Business started growing, and then they got the confidence. I got the board members here. I got the family. It's a family-owned company. The chairman of the board of the family here. And then they got the confidence. I was able to influence them. We set up our factory. We set up multiple units. And by the time I moved out to Dubai to head India and Africa, Middle East, we were actually market leaders in modern trade in 4 categories. So we had actually been mature. So I think the ability to influence was something which I learned there, because in a matrix organization, and many of you will work in organizations which are matrix, if you're not able to bring that level of influence, you will not be able to succeed. Weisdorf Nivea was an extremely caring company. And I also realized that when I used to head the region out of Bangkok during COVID, and I think India had a very terrible time, Asia Pacific was slightly more easier. But when COVID started, within 3 months, we decided to convert some of our lines and start making gels, antiseptic gels. Because we had the technology, but we did not sell anything. We converted 3 of our factories in Thailand, Indonesia, to make gels, and we gave it for free for 6 months, and the board supported me. And how we took that empathetic care to a next level, and I also realized that when we were discussing in 2020, people were going to get their variable bonus. And actually the company did extremely well during COVID. If you know, in times of stress, businesses which have big brands and businesses which people are familiar with actually benefit a lot because people don't take risks. People don't try new things. So we actually gained some 200 basis point market share. The business has done very well. So the variable payouts were also very well. Many of the people across the region came and told me, listen, this has been a very terrible time. We want to spend more time with our family. We want more time with ourselves. Can you convert a part of our variable pay into paid leaves? Now, not very common in India, but the thinking in APAC was that we need to spend more time with our family during COVID. Times are difficult. So then we had an option. We actually asked people, many youngsters, and I say people who were in their 25s, 30 youngsters, and also people who were 35, actually converted a part of their variable pay into leaves. They cleared it off. And I think that also opened the mind that, listen, if you really have to go with the team, and if you really want to take care of them, you really have to listen to them from all angles. The next assignment which brought me back to India, which was, I think, quite, for me, I could not stop myself from doing that. And I left because of a certain reason. I wanted to be a board member and they said that you have to wait for 2 years. And I said, listen, there's no guarantee. And Mr. Birla wanted me to come and set up Birla Opus. And this was a classic example of setting up a business and a company from scratch, where you know that you have to play on your guts and decide when you're 80% there or 85% there, because the timeline was extremely stretched. We had committed 10,000 crore capex, and we have actually spent that capex without any escalation. The whole business was set up during 3.5 years. The brand was actually launched in February 24. We had to take many decisions at points that, am I good enough? Can I go ahead? Or should I wait for some more time? And I'll give you a few examples. We set up 6 greenfield plants. We added 40% to India's paint manufacturing capacity in 18 months. So you can imagine the scale of the bet that we took. We had a sales team of 2,000 people even before the first can of paint was sold. So the amount of market work which was done in the 3 years preceding to the launch, and I know how we worked on it. We were not perfect, but at the time of launch, we knew that we had done enough and we could go and take a chance. Every single paint dealer with his history and geography was geotagged by that time. With R&D, we actually developed more than 170 products and 1,300 SKUs even before we went to the market. Now and we had tested, for the first time we applied consumer FMCG means of testing products, which was not done in paints because the market leader was in this room was arrogant. And that shows, market leader had never tested, so we set up the Nielsen system, we set up the product testing system, and we got excellent results because we really made good products and the whole R&D was set up afresh. So 120 people, all the products from scratch. Now again, the question was, am I there? Are we 100%? No, we were not 100%. But we knew that if we wait for 1 more year or 6 months to try and test, we would actually lose valuable time. So we created a very new model. I'm not getting into because, apart from the 10,000 crores in capex, there were several 4,000 crores which went as cash in the business. So it was a big stake and business is still live and you can follow this in the public domain. When it came to building the brand, we said, listen, we decided to do Pixar animation because the paint industry had gone down. All the paint ads used to look alike. So we did Pixar animation. Was I confident? Maybe partly. But the most interesting thing was that we built the IT front-end and digital system of Birla Opus from scratch, from the beginning. And how much time did I have to test this behemoth? So can you imagine connecting 50,000 dealers, the full CRM, the full disaster recovery system, all IoTs, all manufacturing. We had 2 weeks to test them before going live. A project of this scale, a company would spend at least 6 months to 9 months just testing it before you go to the consumer. We did it in 2 weeks, and thankfully, we took the call. 95% of the things worked flawlessly. That's also because we worked a lot of vendors, so 14-hour days and 7 days a week was common. But what that taught me, and the results are there in the market to see, we're doing very well. I will not comment any more on that. But what it made me realize that if you have to be agile, if you have to be successful, you really have to take a call when do you hit. There's no point in waiting for the perfect solution because there is no perfect solution. And in all this, the most important thing was that we built a great team. And the empowerment and the empathy that we built with the team, and we only hired about 30% of the people from paints. The rest were all from FMCG, telecom, durables, and we built a very hybrid mixture. And then, I created the credo for this company in terms of, what are your culture pillars, what are your core values. And what we realized that when you bring a diverse team together, and all of you will face, because you will all become part of some team, and you will be a small part of the team. Unless you can really build that diversity and bring about that empathy for the team to feel powerful, you're not going to be successful. But we saw success, and hopefully the business will be extremely successful. I am just 2.5 months into my new role, and this is an iconic company and a legacy company, and there are many things to be done. But obviously, with the experience of having had successes and some failures, it makes you think, and it makes you believe more in the principles that you have set out in terms of how should you really run a business and how should you really run people. And at the end of the day, there's a long journey here in front of me for this also. What's very clear is that these principles that I wrote down are the principles that I really want to practice. And you need a bit of luck. You need a bit of luck everywhere. If you have that luck, so be it. But that's what I wanted to share with you so that I make the subject more relevant, so that you all enjoy it. We can have more chat outside for a coffee or dinner. But thank you for giving me.
Thank you, Mr. Rakshit, for that deeply insightful and engaging address, and for explaining to us how informal education after formal education is crucial, and how taking initiative helps us make a positive difference. Your reflections through your experiences and assignments across your career on what begins when formal education ends resonates strongly with all of us, especially we students who stand at the threshold of new beginnings. We will now open the floor for a brief Q&A session. I encourage the audience to grab this opportunity to interact with Mr. Rakshit and gain insights from his experience.
So, Abhishek, and in the address that you just had, you mentioned that you basically told us that you have created the various orgs, creating several companies, you had variety of experiences. So, when you were creating Birla Opus, this particular part, so you mentioned the part that you realized that what you had done was enough. How did you know that what you had done was enough? And whenever you are taking on challenging tasks, what is the mentality that you approach these problems with? Like these are two things I want to do.
So you see, there is no guideline when you believe that you have done enough and you can go and start executing. The moment you start thinking that I have not done enough, you will start doing more, you will take more time. So I think it's a combination of gut, it's a combination of KPIs that you look at, it's a combination of some feedback that you get from your customers, from your designers, for you to take a call that push the button. So, also, there are, when you go to a battle, you don't wait, you have to decide on a time that when you need to fire a missile. you don't know whether the enemy is there or not, but you have a strong assumption that I am right. So that's the same logic.
Good afternoon, sir. So you have in your speech you mentioned that you started with Nestle and then you were at Domino's and now you are at Britannia. You have been in multiple companies. So at what point in your career in these multiple points, when did you decide that what were the reasons that made you switch? And for us as MBA students who are graduating, what advice would you like to give us in terms of how we can shape our career?
Yeah, so switching is a difficult topic, and there is absolutely no need for someone to switch. But I had extremely valid reasons for switching. And let me tell you, I will not tell you what was the reason for which assignment. One job I switched because I had an extremely bad boss, and I didn't want to take a 4-letter word. One job I left because I was doing very well, but I was too young to become the CEO. Third job, because of what I had done, I had an excellent opportunity, which I said this is something which I must try. Fourth job, I told you that I want to become a board member, but there was only 3 positions and it would have taken time, and I moved on. Another assignment, I moved out was for very valid reasons in terms of, so when you are in different career stages, there are various factors which have different kinds of impact, which tell you whether I should move or not. But obviously, what I would advise very strongly is that people should not leave just for money, because it doesn't really make sense. And nobody is going to come and pay you 2.5 times for what you're doing for what you are. So don't leave for the sake of money. Try and build something which is worthwhile for the market to recognize you. See, today with LinkedIn, social media, the whole world of headhunters, I'm extremely well connected with all of them. And I know that they are able to gauge very well about individuals in terms of how have they done in the company, what have they contributed. Now, most of you who are passing out are too young, but within 7 to 8 years, you will come in the radar of some of these headhunters. And that's when they will go back and look at your history in terms of what have you done. So you have to be very careful that if you are leaving or resigning, either it's for an extremely exciting opportunity or it's for something which can add value to yourself, but just not for the sake of money.
Good evening, sir. I'm Sapna Malik. I'm from FMS. I'm from MBA Executive Batch 26. I wanted to ask you, since 1998 till 2026 now, how has the marketing world has shifted or changed or transformed? Because you have served in, you have worked in so many companies, you must have seen many situations, the changes with respect to nation. And second question, now that we see in our youngsters, especially the ones who are in college, still figuring out, the screen time has reduced. How does the marketing personnel or the marketing team targets audience like that, who just want everything to be fast-paced and everything to be, on the fingertips? What are your views about it, sir?
So I think it's a slightly general question, but let me try and answer. So when I started working in 1995, there was no email. Telex still used to come. The email came only towards the end of 98, 99. So obviously the whole world has changed dramatically in the way you do business. But even if you take a look at the last 7-8 years, the shifts have been extremely rapid. So you are a marketing student. Say from a marketing point of view, the relevance of digital, the relevance of mobile, the relevance of connected TV vis-a-vis mainline TV has dramatically changed. Today, 70% of marketing spends in many categories are happening on digital. Paid programming viewership has actually dramatically reduced. Also, the kind of first party and second party data which is available with marketers, there's so much of targeting and retargeting which is happening that your ability to calculate ROI in terms of where will you get the maximum return is also very vast. Secondly, with QCom and ECom, marketing has taken a different dimension. Today, companies, and even us, you're making products every 3 months designed only for the online audience. And you're not shy of saying that if I fail in 2 of them, I will drop them, but I will do 3 more. Because the attention span, the ability to experiment has changed significantly. So what was there even in 2010 is now very different now. Now, how are marketers targeting these people who are on screen? Well, you actually need to ask them because they have exact information, and you have so many tools. For example, you take CPAPs, Meta tool. You are able to connect with what you're seeing. You're able to connect to e-commerce. So if you're seeing something, you will immediately, your information about what you see, what you do, is residing in various CRM databases. So you will be targeted. So I think the world has changed. In China, people are able to develop a new product, do all the research, and do an online launch communicating through mobile phone in 120 days. So the cycle that you read in the more traditional textbooks of taking 18 months to 2 years, or 2.5 years to develop something and launch is now history. You will still do those kind of products, but a lot of it now happens in 4 months to 6 months.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. I'm Chinmay, MBA second year student. So, sir, I had a question that most of the organizations you have worked in are massive organizations. So, even if you look at Birla or Best of, and personally, I recently interned at Adit Birla Fashion, and one thing I see is that these organizations are very bureaucratic. Means there are a lot of teams, a lot of structures to navigate around. And one of the problems you face while you are trying to take initiatives is that you have to navigate through a lot of people, navigate through a lot of teams, which makes it tough for you to take on initiatives or be a more agile person. Like for me to go from finance team to a marketing team and then take a cross-team initiative is slightly problematic thing, and especially when you're a youngster. So what do you suggest on this, that how do you navigate through this and also take initiative to grow?
So which is why, we made Birla Opus an extremely entrepreneurial company. So it works very differently, and that was the guidance coming from the group chairman that, listen, you're free to develop the kind of culture you want, but make it extremely modern. But yes, what you're saying in many organizations which have set processes and rules can be a challenge. And the way to address that, number one, you need to have good influencing skills. Secondly, please get someone senior as your sponsor or a mentor. Because if you have an idea, if you want to make some changes, if you have a sponsor or a mentor who's reasonably senior in the system, we can make things happen for you. But yes, agreed, if you want to make a noticeable change as a fresher, it's going to be extremely difficult. But like I said, be part of various forums, share your stuff out, have a sponsor, have a mentor who then, so a mentor would usually work with you on more individual characteristics, but a project sponsor can actually help you on the business part.
So what were your founding thoughts about Birla Opus when you were trying to build a culture around it?
So, some of the things which I said, and I always say is that if anybody calls me sir in the company, he has to pay a fine. Secondly, I say that when I'm traveling, my room is open for meetings. Anybody can go through the SETI and use the room for meetings. So I try and break the barriers. See, you can ask anybody. I try to be absolutely accessible. So if my room is open and if I'm not in the meeting, anybody can come and meet me and talk to me. So what I try and do is that the leadership team also inculcates certain habits like this. So the approachability and the vibe in the business that we work in becomes much more open. And when you have open, then you can have ideas, you can share thoughts. If there are challenges, you will speak out. Otherwise, you will become an organization where people know many things, but it's all within themselves. So I think breaking those initial barriers is absolutely critical. And I always call what a startup mentality. Your ambition has to be far more than the resources that you have. If you sit with more resources, then you'll be happy with what you're doing. So we encourage the teams to have a startup mentality so that they calculate risks.
Good wishes, sir. My name is Ritesh from the batch of 2027. So when you mentioned the case of the Domino's, when you switched to the 12 minutes rule, so there were two options. One, you were prioritizing the comfortness of the 12 minutes zone areas. Other second thing is you were compromising the 10,000 houses which you will be missing, the business opportunities for the company. So how you prioritize one thing or the other and seeing in the longer term which will be more beneficial for the organization?
See, we wanted to reduce the drive time to 12 minutes so that the pizza reaches the customer in time and is hot. And also you don't put pressure on the scooter driver or the bike driver to drive fast. Because the way a pizza works is there is a time that happens before you start making the order. Then there is a 6-minute baking time. Then there is a time when it lies on the rack. And then there's a time when it gets picked up and delivered. So if you really want to deliver it under 30 minutes, if you are giving a time of more than 12 minutes, then your chances of doing that will be bleak. So for us, the customer promise was very important. Yes, we took a chance. And we said that, listen, if I'm serving 25,000 houses, I will have to give up 9,000 houses. So we said we give it up. But yes, in those days, when you didn't have mobile and you didn't have direct to customer, what we did was that all those houses which were being missed out, at that time we used to do what we call as a door hanger. The Domino's boys would go and hang these slips on your door, and you will get them on a Thursday evening or a Friday evening, and it will always have an offer. So for all those houses, we gave an offer that please come to the store and pick up. Unfortunately, we are not able to serve you. But if you will come and pick up, you get a garlic breadstick free or you get a small pizza free. So it actually delighted the consumers. Huh? They said, okay, you're not, but if I come to you. So we had many of them, and then obviously we had aggressive plans that as soon as you start doing well, you can set up a store to cover those areas. You know, in the US, in the 90s, the most frequently used marketing tool was that when the store, and 80% of the stores are franchise stores, when the franchise owner was going back to his house, he would deliver free pizzas to 4 houses, just based on his database address, for no questions asked. He would tell them, Mr. Smith, I'm coming, I'm delivering your hot pizza, fresh, free. Within 30 days, 3 out of 4 of them would place an order. So that's how. So we use some of that learning. How do you get customers back?
So prioritizing one preference and not giving up on the other as well at the same time.
Well, you cannot be on 2 boats at the same time very successfully, but you have to play a game. But very soon, the store expansion after that was phenomenal. So all of them were covered.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for engaging so generously with the audience. As a token of our appreciation, I request Mr. Naveen Kapoor to kindly present a memento to Mr. Rakshit. We now transition to the next engaging segment of the evening, the panel discussion. Today's discussion promises diverse perspectives and meaningful insights from leaders who bring experience across industries and domains. I would now like to introduce our esteemed panelists and also request them to come on the dais when their name is called. Firstly, I would like to invite Dr. Nandini Sharma, FMS Alumni of the Healthcare Administration batch of 2012. Dr. Nandini is a distinguished healthcare leader. She holds an MBBS and has done her MD from All India Institute of Medical Science and an MBA in Healthcare Administration from FMS Delhi, specializing in public health research and digital health applications. She currently is the professor and head of Department of Community Medicine at SGT University. I would now like to invite Mr. Neeraj Garg, FMS alumnus of the batch of 1988. Mr. Neeraj is the former chairman and CEO of Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages and a Delhi College of Engineering graduate. A global operating executive and turnaround specialist, he has led expansions and strategic growth worth $1.5 billion for FMCG giants like Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble.
And since being an alumni is critical, it was IIT BHU and not Delhi College of Engineering.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Vikram Podar, a stand-up comedian. Vikram Podar is an MBA from FMS, Delhi University, where he failed 4 papers in the second semester, but went on to clear 12 papers in the third semester. So please give him some respect. He is an ex-investment banker who executed the $176 million buyout of Thomas Cook India, one of the top 5 PE deals of 2012, but still managed to get laid off. This life event led to the birth of his company, Boardroom Comedy. Its unique niche in corporate and financial comedy has landed him clients like HSBC, Nomura, Unilever, Mondelez, Vodafone, Accenture, PwC, and Standard Chartered. Ironically, none of these companies shortlisted him during campus placements. He is the author of Funny Control, India's only financial humor column with Money Control. He has also written columns for the Economic Times and the Telegraph. His latest passion is writing and performing poetry. His biggest fear is people laughing at his poetry and crying at his comedy. His new startup, 1% Human, is meant to help senior executives find that 1% that makes them unique from all other beings, human and artificial. I would also like to thank Mr. Rakshit Hargave for gracing the dais. I would request him to actually join Mr. Naveen Kapoor. I also invite our moderator, Mr. Krishna Sridhar, FMS full-time MBA student and Joint Finance Secretary, MSA, onto the stage.
Hello, good evening. Greetings to everyone. Lovely weekend in South Campus, Delhi University. And just around spring is here, so I'm very happy that cold winters are away now. So that being said, today we are here. Thanks for joining us for the panel discussion. The topic that we have chosen is what begins when formal education ends. I think this is of high relevance to everyone present here because now in the ever-changing dynamic system that we are a part of, knowingly or unknowingly, education never seems to end, and the end seems to be out of our reach. So, given that context, I think I'd like to hand it over to the panel experts to share their views. And let's start with Mr. Neeraj. Mr. Neeraj, you have had the journey that many people who enter the gates of FMS dream of, from the right from the heights of HCCB and a lot of turnarounds that you have done. So what do you think that people who are now just about to enter their work life should experience once their formal education ends?
So good evening, everybody. I think now we're going to keep you away from dinner for a little more time. So, I really want to acknowledge what Rakshit said today. It was very, very enlightening, even after 35 years of working. And that's the first thing, learning never ends. In any forum, in any encounter, anything that you do, there's always a learning to take away. And if you think about it, while you're at school, you have, despite everything that you feel, the challenges of what you're doing, even if you fail 4 papers or 3 papers and they're 12 later, there is a structure to life, right? When you do a case study, you have data, you have probably a correct answer, you have a problem identified. So why was the sales declining? Was it a pricing issue? Was it a distribution issue? What was it? So the first thing that happens, that as you leave the red brick building, is that all this falls away. The safety net falls away of what the structure is there. And where you get into is, you get into what is called the ambiguous reality. And I think Rakshit talked about it very well. If you delay a decision, it has a direct impact. And he talked about not having a 100% plan, having the gut to say, this is the right time for me to go forward, and actually moving forward with that. You need to take decisions. What you do has an impact on the business, on the P&L, on profit, on market share. More importantly, it has an impact on the people around you. Again, I'll take his example of a bad boss. If you're not a great boss, it has a terrible impact on morale and the ability of people to perform. And you're not doing the best for the organization or for the people that you're managing. So the first thing that's happening as you exit is that you need to start having belief in your judgment. You need to start creating that intuition. You need to start understanding that how you can make sense of all those challenges, ambiguity around you, and actually move forward with that. So unlike Rakshit, I'm a 2-company person. I started my career with Procter & Gamble, spent 6 years over there, and then I moved to Coca-Cola and I spent 29 years over there, right, before I hung up my boots. So unlike Naveen, I can now say that I enjoy golf and I enjoy doing some consultancy and some advising. So your career decisions become extremely important. When I started with Procter, it was a campus placement and I was given the sales role, and it was really interesting. I launched Whisper in India, we launched Ariel in India, but I always saw my batchmates who were managing brand, Oil of Olay and stuff, all the interesting people who were coming to meet them, the models and the ad people, and for me I had to go and meet distributors in Mathura and Vrindavan and sell the stuff. So it was like, what the hell, I want to move on. So I went to my boss and said, I want to do brand marketing. And Procter at that time, you didn't move categories like that. You got into a function, you grew to the leadership position, and that's when you moved. So you became a category manager, and that's when you started doing marketing. And I said, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to do this grind. So actually P&G took a special dispensation for me and actually allowed me to move into brand management. That was probably the only person at that time who ever moved from sales into brand management at that junior role. And I moved into brand management and I did not like it. It wasn't for me. I missed the daily challenge of a sale, of closing a sale. I missed interaction with people out in the market, spending time, getting to understand our customers and actually making a difference. And within 2 years, I was out of there with Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola has kept me there for 29 years because I was telling somebody else, I did 21 different roles in Coca over those 29 years across many countries and continents. So there was always excitement. So the first thing I'm trying to tell you is that you can't get enamored by what somebody else is doing. You need to figure out what's right for you. And that is so important in this life. You need to be able to figure that out, understand what you're good at, what excites you, and then really get after that. So It's absolutely critical, and I think that's the first thing that you need to figure out as you leave out this. Because there's always this anxiety, who's got a better job offer, what's happening over there. But as you've seen, your first job need not be your last job or the one that's going to create or shape your career, right? You can actually make a call to move on. Rakshit gave you many examples of the reasons that why he moved on, and you can choose any one of them. But the most important is that you need to enjoy what you do. You know, we had a group president at Coke, a very, very senior guy who spent almost 40 years with the company. He used to say, when you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, if you do not give yourself a smile and say, this is what I'm going to do to make a difference today, don't come to office. Get back into bed. Because it's a waste of a day for you and the company. You need to be excited about going to work. So make sure you're enjoying what you're doing. And that's extremely important. So let me pause here, but basically what I'm trying to say to you is that one, you're getting into the real world, the rubber's hitting the road, there's a lot of ambiguity, but you need to start honing your instincts and your judgment calls about what works for you, believing in that, and then making the decisions around that.
Yeah, so building on that, I think it was a point very well taken that, times ahead are you are turbulent, and I think Mr. Poda can vouch for that times again can change at any point of time. Though I'd like to point out that I am perfectly capable of getting laughed at even without exiting an IB. So on that note, Mr. Poda, what do you think, what happens after your education ends?
Okay, am I audible? Yes. I know it's a very 2020 question, but for any stand-up comedy. I'm the person who's there between people's dinner and drinks, and so I'll try to make it work. I wanted to address Rakshit sir. I hope I can say sir because I don't have my wallet right now. When you mentioned the Domino's thing, I wanted to admit my sister and I are actually the people who shut the windows so that we don't have to pay the fine. I'm Marwadi, I hope that explains it all. I wanted to say something, when Naveen shared the invitation email with me, I misread the topic as, after formal education, what next? Which means I prepared 15 minutes on the wrong topic. Now you can understand why I failed 4 papers. Of course, the correct topic is what begins after formal education ends. Again, I thought I failed 4 papers here. How can I be expected to know the answer? But I would ask a question, okay, what do you mean by when formal education ends? When does it end? Graduation, post-graduation, PhD because you want to keep living in the hostel? The other thing Naveen said to me is, Vikram, we want you to share your journey so we can learn something from it. I was like, look, either I can share my journey or you can learn something. I can't do both. But see, since you guys have to make it seem like you are paying attention, and I have to act like I'm making sense. As they said during COVID times, we are all in it together. So let us make an attempt. Which means forget the near future, I'm only focused on the next 10 minutes. With just one objective, to stop you from scrolling on your phones. And if I falter in doing that, it means I have failed at my job. But that's okay, I failed at many jobs. You must have learned that from the intro. Guys, I'd like to believe I did a good job of writing the intro. Yes. Yeah? And that intro would not have been possible without the failure. Which means if my talk today is a flop, the next intro will be even funnier. And that's pretty much been my life. I would say that as much about my career as my dating life. But since my ex-bosses and ex-girlfriends are not here today, I can pretty much say whatever I want. But I would say the same thing about my late father's passing and also the extreme financial troubles that our family faced during my childhood. The only thing consistent about joking on these things is that getting audience laughter makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I've turned something sad into something useful. And that makes me feel indestructible. And that's a great feeling. It's just that it took 42 years to get here. Now, I guess the question, especially what some of the current batches may have is, okay, so what did you do during these 42 years? And how should we go about doing it, right? The only thing is, if I answer this as a how question, it would mean that I can predict things. Like if you ask me, how should we do this thing? And I say, okay, just do X and Y will happen. Like just lend money to your friend and both your money and your friendship will grow. See, I can't predict anything in your life because that would mean I could have predicted any of the things that happened in my own life. And that's what Nassim Nicholas Taleb would call hindsight bias. But see, just because you can't predict things doesn't mean we should stop doing things, right? Like nobody saw COVID coming. It changed the nature of our reality. Like take a moment to feel a little bit of sympathy for all the CEOs who made 5-year outlook presentations to their board in the year 2019. I just wanted to share something that it's very challenging, right? Dealing with COVID and all this is challenging. But I wanted to say something that when COVID hit, I was in complete panic. Because I'm the sole breadwinner in my house. I remember calling up my brother-in-law completely freaked out. Yaar, kaise hoga? How will we manage? What are we going to do? Then something happened, online corporate shows. I did the first show for free with a company where the CEO was an FMS alumni. Just to understand how this whole thing works, what an online corporate show would even be like. And I understood, okay, there are these mics, there are these images on the screen, there is this chat window, and this is the animal called Zoom. And then I got my first paid corporate show with this company called Mashreq Bank Dubai. The most amazing thing about this show was that the person who referred the show to me was in fact a college senior who used to bully me. And here he was 18 years later throwing a lifeline to a dying man. The best part about the Mashreq show was that even the senior executives and the employees wanted me to do well. We were literally in it together. I didn't get a very audible response like you get during physical shows, so I felt like a sad man who's just speaking into the void. But the show went well, it's just that I found out after the show that the show went well. Because they told me. So I learned not to take myself too harshly. Then I got COVID. And that did not stop me. I did an online show for Edelweiss while I had COVID fever in isolation from my room. And that's when I developed a joke that I would do during every single online shows during COVID. I would put this oximeter on my hand. And I would tell them, so guys, this is how this works. If at any point during the show this goes below 90, I could stop breathing. And if at any point during the show you guys stop laughing, it can go below 90. So guys, COVID is over. I'm just saying, if at any point during this talk you guys stop laughing, just keep that in mind. But the incredible thing about these corporate shows is that I specialize in something called customized to context comedy, where I take a lot of detailed inputs from a company and then I create deep jokes about the company and the industry. I can say with full confidence that there is no one I know who can do this as well as I can. But the biggest challenge that I used to face while performing these shows physically before COVID was memorizing all this content. In fact, I used to stress more about memorizing than enjoying the show. But in online shows, I was able to put my script on the side, next to the video screen, and coolly just read the jokes off without any stress. So I became a specialist in online corporate shows. A disaster turned into a USP. Then the editor of Economic Times HR World got in touch. He wanted me to do a humorous article on COVID. So I wrote an article about how an employee who's got COVID takes full advantage of the situation. And the editor told me that, Vikram, when you wrote that article, COVID scare was at its peak, you had COVID and you were joking around about it. And I thought that was something incredible. So he gave me a regular column and that became India's only HR humor column called Humor SOS. And I think that column did well because I had access to an HR WhatsApp group where a lot of those people used to share internal references. So I used to customize the show according to that and get along. A lot of comedians try to discourage me from doing this customization. They're like, why are you wasting so much time and effort? What they didn't realize is that as a comedian, I was getting a chance to get deep personal information, which is informal, about companies. Information that they would never share with me as an investment banker. In terms of the relevance, I was once doing a workshop for the Indian franchisee of an American fast food chain. GST had just been introduced in India that time. And during one of the input collection sessions, the HR casually mentioned, this year we are saving 100 crore due to GST. This is a listed company. I had access to market center information, which was not available in the public domain. So I guess the question to ask is, does customized to context comedy make people laugh, or does it allow me to laugh all the way to the bank? I guess in this case, we are all in it together. So guys, I just wanted to leave you with this before we move on to the next segment. That I guess I would have to ask one thing. Do you think today's opening statement was a generic template, or was it customized to context? I leave that to you.
I'll answer that later. But yeah, I think so. Mr. Podar talked a lot about transitions from an IB to a stand-up comic in a world where you cannot meet each other. And I think Dr. Nandini Agarwal can also share her thoughts about the fact that there are a lot of transitions that we have to do in our career. So as a professional in the field of medicine, which is, in my opinion, the most technical field there is, to in a field of management, which is fairly subjective in nature, and combining those two. Ma'am, how has been your journey in terms of that transition, and how do you feel about the role of management in healthcare in general?
Thanks for including HCA in this forum, because when I hear about people creating companies and all, it's something similar, Mr. Rakshit, to what we do is national health programs. Healthcare is very expensive now, as all of you must now be understanding when you go to corporate hospitals. But the government does create national health programs to look after everybody. But somehow we don't get leaders like you who can create, and they are accountable. So that is why our poor suffer. And the subject that I chose for my post-graduation in AIIMS was community medicine, which has management as one of the topics, but we just get a passing kind of acquaintance with words, CPM, OR, all those terms. And it was these national health programs only which we got us involved, because our department does look after, our subject looks after the implementation of these national health programs so that the poorest of the poor are served. So it's a bit difficult to explain such a grave topic after such a brilliant talk, but anyway, let me try. So what happens in this is that we generally have, in healthcare, the management positions are not by virtue of your aptitude or anything, it's generally seniority. And the person who has signing powers and financial powers is an IAS person. So there's a lot of, because all the silos of working in silos and creating teams and all doesn't really happen very well, because the IAS person feels they know everything and the technocrat gets sidelined. So it was during the initial phase of my career, HIV was making waves around the world, because the entire rich world was affected, the Western world was affected. And a poorer disease, the poor man's disease, tuberculosis, had also got attention because of that, because it became an opportunistic infection. Earlier it was a poor person's disease, so there was not much research, there was nothing happening. No new drugs, people died fine, the third world is always dying. And because of HIV, it became an opportunistic infection, started infecting the rich also. And so these two programs came to India. Our department was because Maulana Azad Medical College, as you all may not be knowing, is affiliated to Delhi University. It's one of the 3 medical colleges affiliated, and it's quite a brand in itself. And it was Delhi government's biggest medical college. So we were looking after HIV program in the beginning. We got involved as training. We were training the trainers. We were doing research in it, and then tuberculosis came, because HIV got onto the it became more centralized and internationalized. So then RNTC, the Revised National Tuberculosis Control Program, and this was Global Fund which was funding it. And many of you may be aware of this Global Fund, it's for infectious diseases. And the Global Fund had a condition that 10% budget would be earmarked for operation research. Because to better a program, that is what is needed. The only thing is we all in health were just new to this concept. and we were new to all the concepts of management. And I discovered that, this is where actually you need the knowledge of management, because if you can manage health properly, and health is the fundamental, wealth of everybody. So if you can manage health properly, and you can give some basic healthcare services and equity in health where everybody gets what they need, then possibly it's going to be. So I enrolled in, when I became the state task force mechanism was introduced, and I became the state task force chairperson for RNTCP, and so I decided to join FMS, because just like it was one of those landmark institutions of Delhi. So then Dean, who's sitting here, gave kindly given me admission, and and here I learned all the concepts and everything, and it did pay very well. Because after that, what I learned about operation research, I could manage to make Delhi win the Operation Research Excellence Award for 2 consecutive years. And apart from that, there was a lot of mentoring, the kind of pedagogy that we introduced for training of workers and all. Delhi State started doing very well in the program, and this also translated to the rest of the country. So these skills, of course, which I learned here, did pay very well in this management. And also, when I became dean, that was COVID time that we all dreaded. We had the largest hospital in Delhi. Almost all Delhiites, not the very rich ones, the middle and lower, the lower class, the lower socioeconomic strata was all with us. It was the biggest COVID hospital. We were made into a COVID hospital. All other training stopped. The surgeons were not doing surgery. The physicians were not seeing other patients. It was only COVID. We were allowed only COVID. We had to create 6 ICUs in one night because the minister would order, and I think everybody knows who the minister was at that time. So the minister would just order, now create a lab. So in one night I had to create a lab. In one night I had to create 6 ICUs, and the faculty was divided, where we were under the Delhi government for the hospital, but we were under the central government as our jobs were created by central health services. So that was the time this conflict management, resolution, all these concepts which were very theoretical played a great role in making me tide over that period. And that is the time I saw the philanthropic nature of the corporate world. We had no food for some time because our kitchen shut down. Everybody had COVID. And so ITC provided us about 2,000 meals per day for some days. HCL gave us a lot of donations of material and everything. And lots of other corporates. I've forgotten the names, of course, they're all listed with us. So that was, but the only other place where I've seen, I have interacted with the business world is in FICCI, where there's an interim jury for, of which I'm a member, for when they evaluate the public health kind of projects that the industry puts up. And there also I have always felt that if the industry could just do a little more about sustainability of these projects that they put up, and it could be a very synergistic relation between management and health, probably we would be able to do a lot more in health rather than just following or aping a model which is very American in nature. Just creating more and more corporate hospitals, just doing something where people are going below poverty line. And NITI Aayog report says even the rich are becoming middle and lower middle class after some episode of illness. So that's very briefly been my journey, and some of my students, I'm proud to say, they are managing the Delhi government and national programs, and they're doing very well because of obviously the management learning that they have. So that's all I would just like to request all of you, that if you do have a chance of contributing to the health sector in any way with your mindset which is towards success, which leads towards success, creating successful enterprises, it would be a very great beneficial service to the country.
Thank you, Dr. Nandini Sharma. I think Dr. Nandini Sharma's journey really encapsulates how broad-based management is and how its applications are far and wide in all kinds of industry. And with that, I'd like to come back to Neeraj sir. Sir, you said that you are a two-company man, and but now in your capacity as a founding partner with Kahu Ventures, you are interfacing with the world of startups, which is known for being nimble, and the individuals in that industry are known for being very active in the way they are seeking new opportunities. So in that context, how has management that you saw in that kind of a context was different from this, and what should people who are entering this space right now, who have two options, one the corporate way and the startup way, what should they take away from your observations?
Okay, so if you think about people who now, I mean, the landscape has changed a lot, right? People have the opportunity of actually going after and doing something on their own versus looking for a regular job with a corporation. Now, the experience that we have, first I'll talk about what we bring to the table for the startups. You know, they have the idea, they have the work that they're doing, but they need a little bit of structure and they need a little bit of guidance, right? On how to scale up, on how to take an idea and build it out so it's sustainable. And that's where the experience comes in and you work with them on that. For the students who want to be entrepreneurs, I think it all starts with, one, having belief. Two, the ability of networking that's been talked about, the ability of multitasking and the ability to influence people around you. I think that's extremely critical, right? And the resilience that you require, because there's so much going on and there's so much to be done when you're setting up a business, that resilience comes in great stead. The other piece that you think about is, and the question that I get is that, is it better to be an expert to be able to run a startup, or how does that work when you're working with a startup? And actually, if you look at the world today, it's more about agile teams, and that's been spoken about as well. An agile team is where you bring a bunch of people together, each who has knowledge in an area, but then they work together, cooperate together to create something. And I think that is critical. So as a startup leader, what is important is to understand what are the capabilities that you bring to the table and what is missing to make that happen. If you're a technocrat and you're creating the tech behind it, but you need somebody to be able to make it consumer facing. You need somebody who understands how the customers are going to react to it, how they're going to accept it. What do they need to be able to buy into your concept? So that's the team that you need to create. And for us at Kahu Ventures, it's all about making sure that when we work with a startup that we are able to scale them up, we are able to help them actually open doors and actually look at areas which can change their path of growth. So whether it is through capability around, and I'll take an example, there's a startup that works with large conglomerates like Reliance. It also sells to small companies. Now it cannot be the same pitch, it cannot be the same pricing strategy, it cannot be the same capabilities that lands in the project. So that's something that we would help them with, in understanding how to put that together. So that's where we interact with them. But I have to say, the work is done by the team, not by us. Okay, we are only there to guide them. We are only there to help them, point them in the right direction if required. But it's all the work that the startups do, and I learn so much every day. And we're working with startups across sectors. We're working with agri-tech, we're working with bank fraud, we're working with aquaculture, we're working with oncology, somebody who's doing contouring of oncology images. We're working with 8 or 9 different startups right now, and each of them is in a completely different sector. And it's so refreshing and so rewarding to be able to sit down, talk to them and see how they're making the world a better place.
So, right, I think it really is a very good lesson for us that startups operate in a very different manner. And I think Mr. Vikram Podar's journey of a switch from a from an investment banker to a stand-up comic also is very figurative of the fact that you need to make those switches and you need to make them very quickly at times. So, sir, my question is, how did you decide to make this switch? Because it's like going from Hrithik Roshan in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara to Hrithik Roshan in Krish first half. So, how did that switch occur for you, and how did you decide to pull the plug on it?
First of all, I appreciate the reference to Hrithik Roshan. I would have been happier if you guys hadn't laughed at that. I'm just kidding. I also wanted to address something that Nandini said. I think as a Mumbaiker, I thought all Delhiites are rich Delhiites. That's what I thought, really. But see, asking me this question about how I made the switch from investment banking to comedy is like, asking me how I made the switch from being in a relationship to being single again. In both cases, I thought I had reached a point that if I tolerate this any longer, I will lose my mind. In both cases, I got some material which was uniquely me for my art. In both cases, my past did come back to haunt me. But I'm an artist, that's how we create art. Like for example, my investment banking past allowed me to create a stand-up video called Ramayana narrated by an investment banker. You guys can check it out on YouTube. Thank you. It's one of my best bits. It does well at every finance event. Occasionally it gets a standing applause in B schools as well. Occasionally. I mean, you guys want to go ahead right now, I have no problem. And also like my past relationship with a scuba diver who was 10 years younger than me allowed me to create a unique storytelling video called Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. Yeah, so it's a storytelling video, you guys can check out that on YouTube as well. So I guess the correct question to ask me is not how we made the switch from investment banking to comedy, it's how we made the switch from being haunted to being happy. And I think the answer to that is I made the switch from doing just stand-up comedy to also doing poetry. Would you guys like to hear a poem? Yes. So there's something a poet needs to listen from the audience to get some encouragement and know what to say. Irshad, yes. Okay, so this poem is called Mera Agla Tat Kahan Hai? Where is my next shore? खुद को ना कोस इस तरह, तूफान तो आएंगे, सैलाब भाकर ले जाएंगे, पर इसी उफनते सागर में कश्ती चलानी है, तट पर पहुंचाना है। पर हैरानी तो इस बात की है कि वो तट कभी मिलता ही नहीं, क्योंकि जिस तरह अपनी जिंदगी के थपेड़ों के बावजूद तुम अपनी नाव को सीधी रखने की कोशिश करते हो, उन्हीं अनेक कोशिशों के दरमियान उस तट की परिभाषा भी धीरे धीरे बदलने लगती है और शायद तुम भी बदलने लगते हो। समुद्र की तूफानी लहरों से संघर्ष करते करते तुम खुद ही एक तूफान बन जाते हो और जो लहरें तुम्हें अभेद्य लग रही थी उन्हीं लहरों पे अब तुम लहराने लगते हो। उसी उफनते सागर में अब तुम अपना उभरता सितारा ढूंढने लगते हो और एक खोज नया हौसला तुम्हें समुद्र की गहराइयों तक भी ले जाता है। और अब तुम्हारा हौसला इतना बढ़ जाता है कि तुम बेताब हो जाते हो और समुद्र से ही पूछते हो कि बता मेरा अगला तट कहाँ है। और उस पर वही सागर तुमसे मुस्कुरा कर कहता है, ओ मेरे अनुभवी नाविक, तनिक पीछे मुड़कर तो देखो, अब तुम खुद दूसरों के लिए एक तट बन चुके।
That was a really good poem and almost right. But so moving on to Dr. Nandini, I think this was a question that was communicated to me by one of the students of the HCA batch, and the question was, you clearly had a lot of learnings from the management course, and so the students wanted to know what was your thinking process behind choosing FMS for the course, for the HCA course, as a lot of options are available, and what was that unique, X factor about FMS that made you choose FMS for the HCA course?
This was, when I was filling up the form, the dean of my institution also asked me, why do you want to go and do this 3 years course where you have to go every evening? You're already a professor for almost a decade now. And there's no point, you can just go abroad, go to an university, take study leave and do something. Or PhD in whatever topic you want, or maybe do a MPH from somewhere. But after researching everything, I wanted to see exactly how this broad-based management course works. Because as I said, management is missing in health, and that is why we have the healthcare in shambles all over the world, basically. If you see the NHS model, it's not succeeding. We are also in a very bad shape. And nobody has actually been able to create the perfect model. There is possibility, maybe. So I just wanted to see how this general management blends in with, whatever with teachers in HCA, and get into a regular course. And since FMS was, anyway, as I told you, a very landmark institution in Delhi. I am from Delhi University only, like this college that I graduated from. So not many people know that there is affiliation of medical colleges. In fact, once when I had come here, because I wanted to log in for a HRD project from the Delhi University site, so the chief of research, she was from Delhi School of Economics, Dr. Kamini, I think her name was, and she asked me, so why should you be logging in from DU? Because I said, ma'am, don't say that, hum aapke hain kaun? We are very much part of the university. We have 3 medical colleges affiliated. So she also got to know for the first time. So that way, basically, this was always one of those well-known colleges. And I thought they would have a very great kind of educational system, curriculum and everything. And I was proved right. HRM challenges were always something which I faced in healthcare. And Professor Venkat guided a very good dissertation on it, from which we got very high quality papers also. So that, I think, ultimately, I do advise my students also to go in for this course. It's rounded and well designed and well prepared.
I think that's as FMSIs, we are very happy to hear that. All around stars everywhere. So, Mr. Neeraj, my next question is to you. We talked about the fact that in startup culture, there are a lot of people of different nature coming together. But my question is that, at least when I was growing up, there was this notion that you have to be a master of one thing. But as I grow older, and I think that is true for a lot of people in the audience as well, the expectation is that, okay, so in between there was this phase when people used to say that be master of one but jack of all trades as well. But now I think more and more, especially in the workplace, people expect you to be a master of everything. So is that actually something in the workplace?
Or now with AI, people expect you to know nothing, but be able to get it done in a moment, right? So look, I think spoke about that the world keeps changing. And more importantly, we talked about agility. We talked about the ability to move quickly. And in that, you need to understand that you need to respect and appreciate the expertise that each person of the team brings to it. So you need to understand what you're good at, and you need to understand how you contribute to the difference or uniqueness that the experience brings to the table, right? And that's going to evolve. So it's going to keep changing. But I think the most important thing is for startups or for companies, especially when you work in a team, and how you work together with others. The other piece that I want to touch upon, which is not really related to the question, but I think, let me just spend a couple of minutes about it, how our style evolves as leaders as you move on from the red brick building and go out into the world, right? I wanted to cover it earlier, I didn't, but I think that also has an aspect to it. So initially when you go out in the world and you become responsible for a project, for a job to be done, right? You really are the kind of a hands-on leader. You need to go and understand everything, you need to work with it, you need to go into the market, you need to get what's going on, figure it out, and then work with the team and give them the vision and the project to take forward. As you grow in the organization and you have people with experience working with you, you need to change your style to more an empowerment style. You need to respect what people are doing, what their knowledge is, and that sort of answers the question as well to what you're saying. That they bring their expertise to the table and you need to empower them. Your job is to really guide them and to enable them. And then, as you become and lead a business, and Rakshit gave a great example at Birla Offers of how you create a vision for the business. What is it that you're going to do? And that's a visionary leader. And the visionary leader really sets together a goal that everybody buys into and gives their 100% together and moves forward with that. Right? And that becomes a critical piece. How do you do that? And I'll give an example from my own career on that. I was working as the sales director in Coca-Cola for Delhi and everything else, at which time the company was trying to acquire a powder drink business. And there was a long conversation going on, names need not be taken. And after 18 months of talking, the company called up and said, we've decided we don't want to sell the business. And obviously Coca-Cola, multinational, 1990s, a little bit arrogant, said, what? They don't want to sell to us, so we'll do our own business. So I got called into the president's office and said, you're not doing what you're doing. From tomorrow, you have 9 months, we want to launch a powder drink. Now Coke, by the way, doesn't have a powder drink anywhere in the world. Okay? And I had no knowledge about how a powder drink business works. It's a very different business from a packaged drink business. And I had to go and work with a team hands-on, learn everything. I would go and stand with the packaging team and say, let's evolve a package and say, look, we have to deliver these year's numbers against the current business. So that's when you start influencing them, working with them and making that happen. Okay, and that's a very, very different role from what I was doing earlier, where I was leading a team of 1,000 people. Out in the sales team, I was running plants and everything, and they were working for me. Very different. I moved to China, and we were sponsoring the Shanghai Expo. Shanghai Expo is like the Olympics for business. 6 months, all the companies, all the countries come and put up large, beautiful pavilions, a lot of investment goes in. And China, of course, everything is the biggest and the best. So 6 months, 70 million visitors, 5 square kilometers of space. Coca-Cola has a commitment to do a pavilion, etc. And 9 months before the project, the GM quits because he's not able to get the commitment from the management team, and the government of Shanghai is also being difficult on the contract that we signed. I get called in to go and run the project. I sit down with my 5 leaders of different verticals, and they're all looking for a new job. They say the company's let us down, and there is nothing that we're going to do right now. We're all looking for a job, and we don't understand you, who has good credibility, has been extremely successful in the business. Why would you want to come and run this and add failure to your name? And being an American company, your reputation and performance is as good as what you delivered yesterday. What you delivered 1 year ago is not relevant. So you're taking a big risk. And to me, that was a moment of a change of a leadership style. You started motivating people. I didn't have any of the expertise to run a project we had to create a pavilion where we had to do crowd control, do queuing, how will we do it, excite people on different aspects of it, work with the Shanghai government. My Mandarin was rudimentary at best. Go and talk to the minister, go and make sure that our contract got honored, etc., etc. And before all that, make sure the company funded the project. There wasn't any budget allocated for it. So a huge challenge. But that is where the empowerment comes in. I was able to convince the 5 people that I wasn't in it for failure. And I wasn't there to make and tell them what to do. I was only there to enable them, to make sure that we got the requisite resources, and to give them a free hand to run the whole exhibition. So we had to create 2,000 selling points, we had to create a pavilion where 1 million visitors actually came in, and we had to do a marketing campaign to get our bottlers on board and make sure that they were incorporating the expo into their business plans, while most of them thought it was a PR exercise for the company, which was just wasting millions of dollars. And that is where the ability to work with a team and understand what their strengths are and to really empower them and make them blossom come out. And we were able to do that. In 6 months, we had a plan in place. And the expo, which ran for 6 months, of the 70 million visitors, 1.5 million visited the Coke Pavilion. We're in the top 10 pavilions. Starcom did a research and said that Coca-Cola was a brand that people were more positively inclined to than any other brand on the expo. 70% swing between will consume before the expo to after that. So all that happened because I recognized the different skills and allowed me to work. One last example is I became president for Africa after being a general manager for 18 years. Getting ready to execute, making sure plans are in place and we go out and execute them. I came into a business that's declining, had lost share for 16 direct quarters. Straight 16 quarters, we had been losing share quarter on quarter. And it was a terrible situation. The locals were taking for us a ride, our biggest blue competitor was gaining share, and we were in deep trouble in a country that we used to be number 1 by a large margin. So for me, there was a challenge. My general manager mode versus the president mode. I got into it, we pulled a plan together, I got in with the team, we did it. In 6 months, we actually saw the loss flatten out, and we had the first quarter of no share loss. So I was very proud of myself. What a fantastic job I've done. Okay, no, hang on, it wasn't. It was actually a failure. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because I didn't recognize what my role was. And we had the employee insight survey at the end of those 6 months. And the first thing that came out is that we are not engaged. Because we don't have a vision. We don't know where we are getting to. And basically what the team was telling me, that yes, we did a plan, we got it done, but that's not your job, that's the job of your leadership team. Your job is to create a vision and to really empower and unite everybody that will really pull them together. And that was a big moment of growth for me. That as you grow, you need to understand what kind of leadership style is critical and important for people, and how do you really build your muscle around it. For me, it was back to the drawing board, 2 months of thinking about what is it going to be, and we created a whole. I came up with this sitting on a beach, by the way, which was nice. I got a holiday, went on a beach, thought of it, and we talked about creating a unicorn over there. And there was a whole story about 1 billion hearts, $1 billion, 1 billion cases, etc., and we created that. And we got the whole system engaged around it, and actually we then turned the business around. And what I'm trying to say to you is that you need to continue to evolve yourself. And I'll now correct it back to what you were asking me about. How do you make sure that jack of all trades versus being an expert versus being, with AI, what are you going to do? I think the first thing is you need to understand what you're good at and what you can bring to the table and what is the situation demands. And more importantly, you seek help as required and you work with people and make sure you empower them and you respect them for what they bring to the table. And I think that's brilliant. So it's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I wanted to bring this thought together. So thank you.
So I think the new dictum should be, we should be empowering the masters. I think that summarizes it all. So as we are drawing towards the end of the discussion, Mr. Vikram, I think we really laughed at your stand-up and we cried at your poems, at least I did, unlike the rivers that you are afraid of. So based on everything that we have discussed, what do you think are the lessons that we should be drawing from this discussion?
So I thought I'd just share a question that I often get is, how do I become a stand-up comedian? In fact, most comedians get this question, how do I become a stand-up comedian? And most of us give the same answer. Watch a lot of stand-up, write regularly, try to get as much stage time as possible. None of us has the courage to say the most important thing, which is figure out how to live a life where you actually have content worth writing about. I've been fortunate to live a life full of unfortunate circumstances. Like, my father had a kidney failure when I was about 2.5 years old. And he was pretty much gone. But when he had the kidney transplant and he was in isolation, he read Ayn Rand's book, The Fountainhead, and pretty much rose from the dead. And then he started a company called Podar Fax. It was the first company to legally import thermal paper into India. And then as a company, we took part in an office automation exhibition at the President Hotel in Mumbai, where the Tatas also had a stall. The proudest moment for my dad was when people went to the Tata stall and asked for a live demonstration of fax. The Tata said, for live demonstration of fax, you have to go to the Podar Fax stall. He's the only one who's able to provide it. And that kind of stayed with me, how to be the only one who can provide something. 36 years later, the financial portal Money Control got in touch with me. They wanted me to do a comedy takedown piece on India's largest stock exchange, which for legal reasons I will say was a fictional article. One of the reasons why they particularly reached out to me was because there was no single stand-up comedian, investment banker or journalist who could individually write an article like this on financial humor. So take away from that whatever you can. As for the article, I was driven by a desire for revenge because the same fictional stock exchange was the one that had caused my family's financial ruin in 1996. So as you can see, I was very driven, so driven that overnight I went through SEBI's entire 127-page circular on the issue and extracted joke after joke from it. That one article did so well that Money Control gave me a regular column called Funny Control. And that became India's only financial humor column. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share on the issue, and I hope it was able to get the message across.
I think be unique, be yourself is the takeaway that I'm getting at least here. And my last question for the discussion for Dr. Nandini Sharma is that so the discussion has been going about building expertise and this world where you have to also kind of let others do what they are good at and building your own niche. So in that context, I think we have discussed about the fact that how our osmosis of individuals between the healthcare industry and management would really do well for both the industries. So given that context, what should we take away as individuals of who are graduating in management and who are professionals in management with respect to building expertise, specifically in the healthcare segment?
First is, of course, as was mentioned earlier, don't stop evolving. So health is something which I think affects everybody. So if you look at it very carefully, like I think Vikram just said, that you have to look at all experiences, and those experiences give you the insight. With your managerial background, you probably would be able to find solutions, better solutions than have been found till now. And so you said there are rich Delhiites, but there's a lot of poverty. So it's and people become poor because of medical problems now specifically. So you would be able to find solutions, as I said, if you keep on evolving and you keep on looking at experiences very carefully. Because if you're heading an industry, there are lots of workers there. If you're really invested in their healthcare, you will have better production. And if you're invested in the health of the general population, you will have better consumption. So obviously it will help your profits in any case. So centralizing health possibly and finding solutions for improving whatever situation is there, evolving constantly is probably the only thing which can result in a osmosis and give good results.
So I think we got a lot of good lessons from this very and I think on that note we can end this panel discussion, and I'd like to hand over to Sadashiv.
Thank you to our moderator and panelists for such a dynamic and insightful conversation, which I'm sure has also hit our funny bone. The depth of perspective shared today truly reflects the strength of FMS Alumni and Leadership Network. May I now request Lieutenant Colonel Ipsaratha to kindly come forward to present tokens of appreciation to our panelists. Just a brief introduction. FMS alumna of the executive batch of 22, Ipsa retired from the Indian Army after 22 years of distinguished service. She was awarded the GOC NC Commendation Card. She is the Vice President of Human Resources at Plutus Wealth Management with certifications in Talent Management and HR Business Partnership. I now invite the Vice President of the FMS Forum, Mr. Alok Raga, an FMS alumnus of the batch of 1980. Mr. Alok is the founder and CEO of India Infrastructure Publishing and holds a master's degree from Northwestern University. He is a recognized industry leader who has served on NITI Aayog's working group for infrastructure. I would now like to invite the President of FMS Forum, Mr. Naveen Kapoor, for felicitating Dr. Nandini Sharma. As we approach the conclusion of this memorable evening, I invite Mr. V.P. Kaushik, an FMS alumnus of the batch of 1986, who is a gold medalist. Viren is an IIT BHU engineering graduate and the former managing director of KRIBC HCO Fertilizers Limited. A renowned turnaround strategist, he has close to 5 decades worth of rich experience in the manufacturing and consulting domain. I request you, sir, to deliver a vote of thanks.
A very good evening to all of you. I think I will not stand between you and dinner. I'll keep my vote of thanks absolutely precise and to the point. On behalf of FMS Forum, it's my privilege to extend the vote of thanks on this memorable day, that is our Founders' Day. Today's celebration is once again a meaningful tribute to the vision, values, and enduring legacy of our founder. At the very outset, I would like to extend, on behalf of the forum, our thanks to Dean FMS and our patron, under whose guidance Forum has been able to achieve its objectives time and again by giving back to the institute in the form of Guru Dakshina. My sincere thanks go to keynote speaker of this evening, Rakshit Hargave, our alum, and a veteran of the consumer industry. Rakshit, we are very thankful that you shared with us your long journey of 30 years, facing different challenges, and I'm sure this gave a lot of learning to our young friends. My sincere thanks go to the illustrious alumni Neeraj Garg, Vikram Podar, and Dr. Nandini Sharma, who have shared their experiences from 3 different streams of life, professional life. My special thanks to the main sponsor, Apollo Tyres, and Q&A sponsor, Messrs. India Infrastructure Publishing, whose support greatly helped organizing this event. A special word of appreciation goes to MSA, that is the Management Science Association, its office bearers, General Secretary Subhiksha, volunteers head Mohit Dalmia, Krishna Sridhar, the moderator, and Sadashiv Pant, the MC, and all the volunteers and administrative staff who have worked tirelessly behind the scene to make this event successful. And last but not the least, I thank all of you who made it possible to grace this function by your presence. I will be failing in my duty if I do not mention one name within the FMS Forum Executive Committee, and that is Nitin. He single-handedly shouldered so much responsibility in organizing this event, doing a lot of background work, and the executive committee of the forum expresses its gratitude to him. With these words, I thank you all and wish you all the best. Thank you.